Hello everyone, myself Jayashree Patil, physics teacher, Ferguson College. In the earlier session of oscillations, we discussed in detail about the phase of SHM. Even we discussed how a single particle is subjected to two SHMs of same periodic time and taking place along same path. Using proved that the resultant motion is also SHM. So let us continue this session from the expression for resultant amplitude and resultant initial phase angle. So let us focus on presentation. In the earlier session, we discussed the composition of two linear SHMs of same periodic time and the same path, which are taking place obviously along the same path. So let us derive the expression for the resultant amplitude in this case. So let us call out that resultant amplitude as capital R. Certain constants we have assigned in the beginning, that is capital R and delta. So the expressions which we have assigned as the constants are R sin delta as A1 sin phi 1 plus A2 sin phi 2, and the another constant as R cos delta is equal to A1 cos phi 1 plus A2 cos phi 2. So to determine the resultant amplitude R, let us square out the two equations. So first equation, if I square out, then it will be R square sin square delta is equal to A1 sin phi 1 plus A2 sin phi 2 bracket square, and for the second one, R square cos square delta is equal to A1 cos phi 1 plus A2 cos phi 2 bracket square. So if we focus on the LHS, that is R square sin square delta, and over here for the second one R square cos square delta, and if we just add these two equations, then we have LHS as R square, because sin square delta plus cos square delta is equal to 1. So squaring and adding these two equations, we can get the step which is observed on the screen. Now the bracket squares are simplified. So here, while simplifying the brackets, we'll take out the terms of A1 square together, and in the second term we'll take the terms of A2 square together, and rest of the terms will combine separately. So after doing so, we have A1 square in bracket sin square phi 1, then sin square phi 1 plus cos square phi 1. This cos square phi 1 we have taken from the second bracket. So A1 square is taken common and the two terms are added. On similar lines, A2 square is taken common and we have sin square phi 2 plus cos square phi 2. The rest of the terms, which are the middle terms from first and second bracket, those are combined together as 2A1 A2. From first bracket we can get sin phi 1 into sin phi 2. From the second bracket, cos phi 1 into cos phi 2. So like this way, simplifying RHS, we have A1 square in bracket 1, because sin square theta plus cos square theta is 1. On similar lines, A2 square in bracket 1, because again sin square theta plus cos square theta is 1. So after simplifying and taking out square root from both the sides, we can get the final expression for resultant amplitude, that is capital R is equal to root A1 square plus A2 square plus 2A1 A2 cos of phi 1 minus phi 2, because this bracketed term which we obtained as a third term along with 2A1 A2 is a trigonometric identity, that is cos phi 1 minus phi 2 is equivalent to cos phi 1 cos phi 2 plus sin phi 1 sin phi 2. So using this expression of capital R, the resultant amplitude in case of composition of two SHMs can be calculated. So it's clear from the expression that R depends on the individual amplitudes as well as on the initial phase angles phi1 and phi2. So if we substitute different values of phi1 and phi2 over here, we can get the resultant amplitude in the given situation. On similar lines, we'll try out for the expression for initial phase angle delta for composition of two SHMs. For that, again we have the same constant terms which we have assigned in the beginning, r sin delta and r cos delta, which is equated with the concerned terms. So here taking the ratio of r sin delta and r cos delta, that is ratio of two equations, r gets cancelled and we have sin delta upon cos delta as LHS, which is equivalent to tan delta, that is equated with the ratio, that is a1 sin phi1 plus a2 sin phi2 divided by a1 cos phi1 plus a2 cos phi2. So taking tan inverse, that is to get the value of delta or expression of delta, we have delta is equal to tan inverse of the bracketed term. So this is the required expression for the initial phase angle delta in case of composition of two SHMs. So over here from expression it is clear that delta depends on the individual amplitudes A1, A2 as well as on the initial phase angles phi1 and phi2. So if these values are known to us, by substituting A1, A2, phi1, phi2 in this bracket and taking tan inverse will give us the resultant initial phase angle. So like this way, we have discussed how a single particle is subjected to two linear SHMs of same periodic time and taking place along same path, and we derived the expression for resultant amplitude R and resultant initial phase angle delta. The next topic to be discussed is the expression for the total energy of a particle performing linear SHM. As we know, when any particle is, even though at rest or even though performing a certain motion, then a certain energy is associated with that particle. So here the concerned motion is linear SHM. So let us try out the expression for energy of a particle performing linear SHM. So consider a particle performing linear SHM along the path Mn about point O as the equilibrium or mean position. Let small m be the mass of a particle. At a given instant, say the particle is at position P, which is at a distance of x from O. So x is nothing but the displacement of a particle performing linear SHM, which is measured away from mean position. So the moment particle reaches to P position, it experiences a restoring force. The velocity of a particle at a given position, say x, can be calculated with the expression v is equal to plus minus omega root of a square minus x square, where a is the amplitude of linear SHM. In terms of time, velocity also can be written as a omega cos of omega t plus phi. So from where this equation is obtained? If we take x is equal to a sine omega t plus phi, and if we just simply differentiate that equation or expression of x, then we are getting the velocity. So this is the expression of velocity, which is indicating that how the velocity is dependent on time. So as the particle is in motion and as it possesses velocity, so obviously it possesses kinetic energy. So the kinetic energy of a particle at any position, that is at any displacement x, is half mv square. So v is substituted over here. So after substituting, we can get kinetic energy in terms of displacement as half m omega square in bracket a square minus x square. This m omega square can be substituted as k also, where k is a force constant. if we want to find out the kinetic energy at time t, then the kinetic energy expression again half mv square can be used. Only the difference is the velocity is substituted in terms of time. So half m as it is, then we are substituting as a omega cos omega t plus phi. So squaring that we have half m omega square a square cos square omega t plus phi. So m omega square can be substituted as k also. So we get the final expression for the kinetic energy in time t, which is half ka square cos square omega t plus phi, out of which half ka square is a constant. That's why the conclusion is kinetic energy with time varies as cos square theta. So over here, from these two expressions, it's very clear that kinetic energy depends on the position, that is on the displacement, as well as on theta, that is omega t plus phi, which is a phase. After calculating kinetic energy, let us try to find out whether the particle is possessing potential energy or not. So when the particle is displacing against the force acting on body, then a work is done, and that work is stored in the form of potential energy. So let us find out whether it is happening for linear SHM also. The restoring force acting on a particle when it is at position P is F, and that is equal to minus kx, where k is a force constant, x is the displacement measured from point O. So here x is that corresponding displacement, F is the force. If we observe the vectors or the directions of F and x, they are exactly opposite. So from point P, if the particle is further displaced through an infinitesimal displacement, say dx, that means the particle is now displaced to new position P prime by undergoing an infinitesimal displacement dx, which is very, very small, in other words tending to 0. Then this is happening against, this motion is happening against the restoring force F. So in this case, external work dw is done to displace the particle through displacement dx. Hence, this work done dw is taken as F into dx. The minus sign is indicating that the work is done against the force, or the second reason for minus sign is dx and F are oppositely directed. So as we know, F is minus kx, so it is substituted over here as minus kx, minus minus will become plus. Hence, the work done to displace the particle further from P to P prime through an infinite displacement dx is dw, which is kx dx. So in order to determine the total work done to displace the particle from mean position O to the position P at a given instant of time, the work done is integration dw from 0 to x, because 0 is standing for the displacement at O, which is mean position, and displacement at particle P is x. So total work done is integration dw. So let us substitute this value here, kx dx, out of which k is a constant. So we have integration x dx, and integration x dx is x square by 2. Integration is x square by 2, and the limits are lower limit is 0, upper limit is x, because the integration is going from 0 to x. So the limits are 0 to x. Now if we substitute the upper limit first, we can get x square by 2. If lower limit 0 is substituted, then it will be becoming 0. That's why finally the total work done in terms of integration comes out to be half kx square. So this work done as is against the restoring force. That's why this work done is stored in the form of potential energy. Hence, this work done is equal to potential energy, say EP, which is half kx square, that is equal to half m omega square x square. Here k can be substituted as m omega square. So potential energy again depends on the position, that is on the displacement. On similar lines, the potential energy at time t can be calculated as half into kx square, where x is substituted as a, into sine of omega t plus phi. So we get the potential energy as half ka square sine square omega t plus phi. So here half ka square is constant once again, and conclusion wise the potential energy with time varies as sine square theta. So potential energy depends on displacement as well as on theta, that is omega t plus phi, which represents phase. So likewise we have derived the expressions for kinetic energy and potential energy for particle performing linear SHM. To find out the total energy of the particle, let us sum of these energies. So total energy is kinetic plus potential, that is Ek plus Ep. So as per the expressions we have derived, Ek is half m omega square a square minus x square, Ep is half m omega square x square. So half m omega square can be taken common. Bracketed term is a square minus x square plus x square. So x square is getting cancelled. We have finally the expression for total energy at any instant of time as half m omega square a square. Now this energy, if we expression of energy if we observed, then mass is constant, omega square is constant, amplitude square is constant. So total energy at any instant of time, that is also constant. So it is proved from this expression that the total energy of the particle is independent of time and it is always remaining constant, equal to half m omega square a square or half ka square. Further, if omega is substituted as 2 pi n, then we have the expression for the energy in terms of frequency also, that is 2 pi square n square a square m. So it is observed that if 2 pi square a square m is constant and if frequency is changed, then E is proportional to n square, or E can be observed to be proportional to 1 by t square. So like this way, anyhow, so long as the frequency and period is remaining constant, that is it is harmonic, then the total energy of a particle is remaining constant. Let us check out how the energy of a particle, whether it is kinetic potential energy, is varying with respect to displacement. So see the animation over here. When the particle is at say equilibrium position, which is indicated by a purple dot, then kinetic energy becomes maximum. On the opposite hand, when the particle reaches to any of the extreme positions, then the potential energy of the particle becomes maximum. So conclusion wise, here we can say that the kinetic energy is maximum and potential energy is zero at equilibrium position, and this kinetic energy itself is equal to the total energy because at equilibrium x is equal to 0. On the opposite side, at the extreme positions, whether it is left or right extreme position, x is maximum, that is x is equal to a. That's why potential energy is maximum and kinetic energy is 0. And at rest of the positions along the path, the total energy is partly kinetic and partly potential. So like this way, the variation of energy can be understood. Now the next part is the variation of kinetic and potential energy with displacement using graph. So for that, let us recall the expressions for each of these energies. Total energy of a particle is Et, which is half m omega square a square, which is a constant. The kinetic energy of a particle, that is Ek, is equal to half m omega square a square minus x square. So as per the graph, minus a and plus a are the amplitudes at the left extreme and right extreme positions. So here is the graph indicating variation of kinetic energy with displacement. So energy axis is y axis and displacement axis is x axis. and O is standing for equilibrium position as well as origin. So here, as per the expression of kinetic energy is maximum at mean position. So which can be observed over here at equilibrium or mean position. The kinetic energy is maximum because x is equal to capital A. So if we substitute over here, then what happens is this term gets cancelled because x square is equal to a square, and kinetic energy is exactly becoming equal to the total energy. Kinetic energy is maximum at the mean or equilibrium position, and at equilibrium position, x is equal to 0, not the maximum one. That's why here x is substituted as 0. That's why the term left with is a square, and this kinetic energy is equal to the total energy. So total energy, if we observe, then total energy graph is indicated by a line which is parallel to displacement axis. So total energy is independent of displacement. Then if we observe the graph for, say, kinetic energy, then on either sides of the mean position, the kinetic energy is going on decreasing. So here it can be observed that kinetic energy is going on decreasing on either side of the equilibrium. So here at the extreme positions, the kinetic energy becomes 0 because x is equal to a, and the whole term becomes 0. So likewise, the kinetic energy versus displacement graph is an inverted parabolic graph which is symmetrical about displacement axis. Further, if we again discuss the plot for potential, then we need a potential energy expression which is EP is equal to half m omega square x square. Same graph gives the indication of potential energy also. So as per the graph, the potential energy is maximum at extreme positions. So these are the two positions which are the extreme positions where the potential energy is maximum, because at extreme position x is equal to capital A. That's why the potential energy is equal to total energy half m omega square a square. Then if we observe the graph on either side of O, then it is clearly seen that from extreme to mean position, the potential energy is going on decreasing. And if we just discuss vice versa thing, that is away from mean position or on either side of mean position towards extreme, the potential energy is going on increasing. Like this way, the potential energy versus displacement graph is a parabolic graph which is symmetrical about the energy axis. And at rest of the positions apart from mean and extreme positions, the kinetic and potential energy are in proportion. That is, total energy is partly kinetic and partly potential, like this way. So conclusion wise, the graph of kinetic energy, potential energy against displacement is parabolic, and this parabolic curve is symmetric about the displacement axis. So this is the discussion regarding the expression for total energy, how it is remaining constant at any position and it is independent of time, and variation of total energy, potential energy and kinetic energy with displacement. After this concept, let us begin the discussion with the second example of a particle performing linear SHM, that is a simple pendulum. In earlier session, we discussed the example of spring mass oscillator, how it is performing linear SHM. So this is the second example where we'll try to find out how the simple pendulum is performing SHM and what is the expression for its periodic time. So let us discuss the ideal conditions. First of all, the ideal simple pendulum, which consists of a heavy particle which is a point mass, and it is suspended by means of massless, twistless and inextensible string which is hanging from a perfectly rigid support. So diagram wise, this is a heavy point mass or a heavy particle So in practice, such heavy point mass does not exist at all. These are the ideal situations. Then a string is massless, twistless, inextensible. This is also the ideal situation of the string, which is hanging from a perfectly rigid support. There may be a bending of the support also. That's why these three things for the heavy particle string and rigid support are ideal. Cannot be imagined in the real practice. So this simple pendulum is modified for the practical purpose, which is called as the practical simple pendulum, which consists of a heavy metal sphere, which is called as the bob, suspended by means of a lightweight, because the string, even though is lightweight, but it cannot be weightless or massless. That's why the weight of the string has to be considered over here. Then inextensible string or slightly extensible string, which is hanging from a rigid support. So such a assembly of pendulum is used for the practical situations, and that is called as the practical simple pendulum. So here is the diagram indicating this practical simple pendulum. In this session of oscillations, we derived the expression for resultant amplitude R in case of composition of two linear SHMs. Even we have derived the expression for resultant initial phase angle delta. After that, we derived the expression for total energy of a particle performing linear SHM. Then we have discussed graphically how the kinetic energy, potential energy is varying with displacement. We introduced a concept of practical simple pendulum. Thank you.